Mavadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hare Om Tat Sat. So let me say the page where we were discussing. Give me 1 second. Maybe I have just have to give me 1 second. I'll open the page and then I would share it. 1 second, please. And the page number of this text is page number is 93. I'll directly go there. Okay, so we go there. We had done till the verse number. We had done till the verse number 82nd of this chapter, and we'll proceed from there. And I'm sharing the page for you, for your benefit. Here. Now we'll go to the verse number 83. In the verse number 82, we were trying to refute a certain false, non-real anxiety in the minds of the student. Okay, and he's trying to find some faults with trying to distinguish Akasha and Sad, because we have discussed a common principle earlier that whatever is an attribute of the karana or the cause is likely to be present in the effect or the consequence. Like the son carries the DNA of the father, right? Now, if that is the case, somebody might say that why should there be a difference? Because Sadvastu, Brahman is real, and Akasa is made out of it. Why should it be unreal? That's one doubt. And then there's another doubt. When you have Akasha, after Akasha comes Vayu or air out of space. And then the quality, the Swadharma or the special quality of Akasha attribute, special quality or attribute, is Sabda Gunakam. So it has this quality of being a platform for transmission of sound waves. That is the quality of Akasha. What about Vayu? Sparshavatvam. It gives a feel of touch when we have hot wind or cold wind or blizzards or loo or whatever. You have the Twagendriya, the skin, which can apprehend whether there is movement of air or not. How do you ascertain? With your Twagendriya, because air doesn't have any appearance. You cannot see it. Air doesn't have per se heat or cold temperature. Whatever you feel above air, you feel it with help of your skin. So the Jnanendriyas are different. And so far air and space are concerned, they have different qualities. Just a while ago, you explained to us that the quality of the cause shall be present in effect. Then how do you now say that air comes out of space or akasha, but they have two different qualities? And that is refuted. This anxiety is addressed by explaining that look here. All qualities of akasha, one quality is that it carries the sound waves. That's just one quality. And that is also there in air. But there is only one quality, which is avakasa datrikvam. It gives you, it is a room giving entity. That means if you have one hand, this finger cannot move through this palm, right? But space, it can move through it. That is what is called avakasa datritvam, room giving nature. It doesn't obstruct anything. That is space. Air doesn't have it. That is the doubt. Why the quality of the cause shall not be present in effect or in the consequence, which is air. That is saying, that is refuted, saying, no, no, the quality of the akasha space is also ability to carry sound waves, and that is present in air. Only one thing is not there, that is avakasa dhatitvam, because that is a finer distinction. Okay, and therefore there is no contradiction in our statements that the qualities of the cause shall be present in the effect. Sabdana vrittir eva akasa gunasya ukta sabda anavritti reva ukta natu swarupana तथा सति वससो व्याहति विरोधः कुतः. So there is no contradiction. पुराकाशस्य वस्तु विभाजक धर्मो अवकाशो वायो न विद्यते. Every entity or dravya would have some vastu vibhajaka dharma, a special quality which distinguishes that particular entity from others. Now you would say that means actually there are real different objects which are existing, fundamentally existing. Paramarthikatvena. Somebody might have this doubt. The answer would be that means Akash and Vayu are both real. Advaita Vedantin would have a lot of problems because only Brahman is real for us. All other things are not very real. So, how do you explain it? The Advaita Vedantin, in very simple words, will try to tell you that during Vyavahara Kala, the phenomenal reality would have their distinctions. In a dream, you are running, a tiger is chasing you. You pull out a gun and shoot at it, and the tiger falls dead. There's a lot of distinction and diversity. But you are actually on your bed and you're seeing, and it's a dream. There's some kind of a biochemical process which is going on in the brain as a result of which you are able to see that particular dream. On a film screen, it remains the film screen, it remains the TV screen, but we see five little children are playing. One is the leader of this team of little boys, and they're fighting with another group of little boys. How many differences are there? But all of them are actually the TV screen. The reality of one boy of another, these are all color particles, nothing else, reflected on a certain screen. Per se, what is it? If it's a computer screen, what are these? End of the day, 0101, all reality boils down to binary 01 in computers. Similarly, even though everything is Brahman, during the cognizance of the phenomenal reality, there is no harm, there is no what do you call it, prohibition, there is no ban as such imposed on making distinctions between different realities. But these are all phenomenal realities, not fundamentally real. Fundamentally, only one truth is real, which is the Brahman, which is without name and form, and we are not different from it. That is a truth. We shall be hammered down our head again and again in order for us to realize that these diversities are apparent, not fundamentally real. So he's trying to say that Vastu Vivajaka Dharma of Akasha is Abakasa Datritvam, room giving nature. And it is different from air, which has that special Dharma Vivajaka, Vastu Vivajaka Dharma. What is it? Sparshavatvam. It has that touch feel. Okay, there's no problem. But all of them have emanated out of Brahman, and fundamentally they don't have any attribute of their own kalsatta. Now there is another question which comes in the verse number 83 that we're going to deal with today. Nanu vaivyadehe sadvastuni pravivicyamane vayuropi yatha asatvam uktam evam maya vailakshyanena mayayam pritangkritayan vayor O mayatvam praptamiti sankate nanu iti. Now, the teacher is picking up a doubt in the mind of the student and bringing it on the table for a discussion in order to thrust out this whole issue of whether duality is real, what are the doubts we can have, challenging the Advaita vision that everything is one and the same thing. And you see what kind of logical questions are being raised. Very interesting questions. What is this? First question. Nanu, what is the doubt in the introduction is saying? If you look at air and other such entities, if you are distinguishing them as different from Brahman, which has some swadharma of his own, sattavatva. He's saying Vayu yatha asatvam. Now Vayu is different from Brahman. Brahman is Sat. What is Asat? Vayu. Vayu is not fundamentally real. Right? Similarly, Akasha is not real. Why is different from Brahman? Brahman is real. This is unreal. Everything is unreal other than Brahman. Done. So this is Sat. Anything different from this will become Asat. This is green. This is a boy called John. Everything else in the room other than John is non-John. X, X dash, such that X doesn't belong to X dash, and this is another set. Done. If that is the line of argument, then he's trying to say, now Maya, you know that with Maya Upadhi, Brahman becomes Ishvara. Maya Upahita Chaitanya. And Maya is the Upadana Karana, Ishvara is the Nimitta Karana, Nimitta is efficient cause, and Maya is the material with which this whole sansara. And what is that material? Ajnana. What is the material with which we construct a snake and superimpose it on the rope? There is a rope, and we see that as a snake. The snake is made of what material? Does it have venom? The venom has what kind of biochemical properties? And what is the nature of blood in the snake? What is the nature of meat in the snake? Can you have these questions? Will they make any sense? The snake is illusory, just an appearance, and therefore it's made out of ajnana or avidya or ignorance. That is the material cause of the snake. Similarly, this whole sansara that we see, which appears as real, is essentially made out of ignorance. It's a presumption, it's just an appearance. It is neither 100% true nor 100% false. It's a very powerful appearance, and we accept as vyavaharika satya. Dream is like pratibhashika, illusory. This one is vyavaharika, phenomenal reality. Then, now here he is saying, when you distinguish Vayu or Akasha from Brahman, they become false. Now, Maya is ignorance, and Maya Karya, product of Maya, is the Sansara. But Sansara is not Maya. Sansara is Maya Dvava, is born out of Maya. It's like mother child. And if that is the case, what is not Maya will be non Maya. Maya is Asat, which means non Maya will become Sat. Look at the logic. Maya is Asat. Maya is not Sat. Maya is Anirvachaniya, means not Sat. Anirvachaniya means neither Sat nor Asat, means not Sat. There are three lines there, neither Sat nor Asat nor Sadasat. Fine. Now this Maya is Anirvachaniya, if you say this. None. Maya is Anirvachaniya, means it's not 100% real. Now, if you find something which is different from Maya, which is not Maya, it must be real, because this is unreal. Maya is unreal. So anything which is non-Maya must be real. Now, Vayu is not Maya. Vayu is Maya Karya. Akasha is not Maya. It's also Maya Karya. Maya is Asat. So because it's non-Asat, other than Maya, it will become Sat. That is the logical question. And we will see how that's being answered. Nanu sadavastu parthakyad asatvam chet tatha katham Avyaktamaya Vaishamyad Amaya Mayata Pino. Now, this is the doubt. Nanu, if so, Sadvastu Parthakyad, different from Sadvastu, which is Brahman, non Brahman. Asatvam che, then therefore it's false. It's real, fundamentally real, Sat, Brahman. Other than Brahman, non Brahman is Asat. That means it's not real, unreal. Tada, if that is so, Katham Avyakta Maya Vaishamyat. Maya is what? Non manifest. It's not visible. It's not accessible to our Jnanendriyas. Anybody has seen Maya? Where does Maya exist? You can see only Maya Karya and do an Anumana. You can do an inference. Or, like a good boy, you can go to the Shruti Vakyas and read the text and you understand, yeah, this is all a product of Maya. Can you see Maya? Can you feel Maya? Can you hear Maya? You cannot do any of these. Therefore, first thing is not visible. That means it's not Indriya Gochara. It's Indriya Agochara. Abhyakta Maya Vaishamyat. And this Vayu is then different from Maya because Vayu is Indriya Gochara. What Indriya? Sparshendriya. Is this movement of wind or air? The skin feels it. You can't even stand outside if there is cyclonic winds, or there's a tornado. No? Therefore, he's saying, therefore, is different from Abhyakta Maya. Therefore, Amaya Mayata. That means what will be the quality of Vayu or Akasa? Amaya Mayata. It's not full of Maya. That means it's non Maya. Non Maya means non Asat. Maya is Asat. This is non Asat, means Sat. Okay? That is the question. Nanu iti prashnarthe. Vayuhu sadvasu parthakyad, because Vayu is different from sadvastu, which is Brahman. Sataha vinnatvat. Sataha, from Sat, which is from Brahman. It's different. Vinnatvat asatvam ched. So it is asat. True, non-true means false. Tad vailakshanyad mithya iti uchyate chet. So therefore you are saying Vayu is illusory, it's mithya. If that is what you are trying to say, I'll show you what is the logical fallacy involved in your argument. That is the student's anxiety. Tatha avyakta maya vaishamyad avyakta indriya gochara ya maya. Maya is avyakta, non-manifest. Can we have a better? It's indriya gochara, indriya agochara, not accessible by the jnanendriyas. Ya Maya, that Maya. And what is it? We call it mithya bhuta. It's illusory. It's not evident with any logical consequences. Tad vaishamyat. Tad means Maya vaishamyat, vayoho, of air. It is different from Maya. Indriya gocharatvena, how is it different? Because that is Indriya agochara, this is Indriya gochara, inaccessible to the Jnanendriya sense organs, and Vayu is accessible by sense organs, Swagendriya, the skin. Vailakshanyatvat, Vilakshanatvat is different, therefore, Amaya Mayata. Maya Mayata is of quality of Maya. And because it's non-Maya, therefore, what is the quality it has? Amaya Mayata. Maya Swarupad Bhinna. So it is different from the Swarupa of Maya. Maya Swarupa is Mithyatva and is different, so it must be Sat. Satyam. Okay? Satyatmika iti yavat katham no syat. Why can't I argue that the Swarupa Vayu is Satyatmika, is Satya? Why? Maya is Asatya. It's different from Maya. It's non Maya. So it is non-asatya, it is non-asatya, non-untruth, means truth. Indriya gochara maya. Maya is not accessible to Indriyas. Tad gochara vayu, but vayu is gochara. Vailakyanya swabhavat ayurvede. Therefore, there is some difference in their qualities or attributes. Mithya bhuta maya bhinnam. Amithya eva syat. Mithyamaya bhinnatvam. There is falsehood. And this is different from falsehood. There must be truth in it. Iti akshepaha. This is the question. Very powerful question is raising. Now the Vedantin comes around and raises more interesting philosophical questions to resolve this anxiety. What kind of anxiety it is? It's ontological anxiety. How is it? Ontology is about nature of reality. Vayu or air is false, that is what Vedanta says, but it's different from Maya. Because Vayu is different from Brahman, therefore it's Asat. That is your argument. But it's also different from Maya. Maya is Asat, therefore it should be Sat. That's an ontological anxiety based on a few epistemic considerations, and that has to be refuted. Now he's explaining. Nistatva rupate vatra maya tvasya prayojika sasakti karyoyor stulya vyakta vyaktatva vedina. Now you have vyakta and avyakta bheda. Vyakta is what? Air. Vyakta to what? How do you apprehend its presence? It's not visible to your eyes, no, but it's accessible by the power of touch, my skin, tvagendriya. And what is avyakta? Beyond the sense organs, beyond the reach of sense organs is Maya. So this one is beyond the reach of sense organs, and this is within the reach of sense organs. This is avyakta, and this is vyakta. This is unmanifest, and this is manifest. Sa sakti karyo yoho tulya. Now the answer is like this. Do you know, my friend, what is the essential nature of Maya? No, I don't know. Nistatva rupata. Fundamental reality is different from fundamental reality. It doesn't have any substance. It doesn't have any substantial reality of its own. Nistatva rupata eva atra maya tasya prayojaka. So what is that prayojaka? The prayojaka is what enables us to describe Maya is nistatva. It doesn't have any fundamental reality of its own. He's saying, no. So what causes us to describe anything is the essential quality of Maya. That is the question. What is the answer? Nistatva rupata. It doesn't have any fundamental reality of its own. And this absence of any fundamental substantial reality of one's own, this applies to both Maya and its works. Its works, whole samsara. They don't have any fundamental reality of their own. Now, let's again go back to our rope snake joke to make sense of it. There is a rope and you are seeing a snake in it, right? And this snake is illusory because later on you switch on the lights and you see there was actually a rope, there was no snake. In the snake, there's a fang portion. It contains, and you see the two safties and it carries the poison. And one bite and we are gone. Then there is a tail and there are certain marks on the body of the snake. Right? Now, the snake's length, the snake's color, is poison. They are all different entities. What is common to all of them? Nistatva rupata. There is no fundamental reality of their own. We are talking about its poisonousness, its length, and from which country it has come to this place. We can discuss all that based on the illusory appearance. But fundamentally, what is common to all these qualities, all these realities that we're talking about so far the snake is concerned, nistatva rupata. Fundamental, there is absence of fundamental reality is one primary quality of all these entities associated with the snake. Similarly, Maya and its karya, work, its product, they are all defined by this fundamental principle called nistatva rupata. Because the nistatva rupata is the fundamental property which defines all of these, because Maya becomes Asat, and then this Maya Karya is different from Maya, and therefore it will become Sat. Question doesn't arise. Why? Because absence of any fundamental reality about them is common to all of them. In a dream, you are winning a cricket match on your own. You are a one-man team. You are bowling. You are the guy who is also doing wicket keeping, and you are also running and taking a catch. You are also batting. Can you imagine? What is real about it? Only reality about it is that it's unreal. That is the only truth about it. Nistatva rupata. Therefore, X is different from Y. X is false, so Y will become real in a dream? No, that's not true. That is how he's explaining. It's a very interesting way of. There are a few printing errors in that, and we'll negotiate with it. Okay, the verse number 84. Interesting verse. And he's explaining each of these. And the key question here is the mithyatva nirupana of Vayu. How do we establish that Vayu is illusory, is not real? That reality called atmosphere is just a superimposition of certain qualities which are not independent. They are kind of an appendage on the Brahman, which has no name and form. Okay. So nistatva rupa, that it doesn't have any fundamental reality of its own. That is the founding principle. Tattva itara swarupata. Tattva itara swarupata. Nistatva rupata means tattva itara swarupata. What is tattva? Tat is Brahman. What is his dharma? Tattva. Other than Brahma is what? Tattva itara. And so nistatva rupata means tattva itara swarupata. The essential nature of these objects in this whole samsara is that they are non-Brahman. They are not Brahman. Mayatvasya mityatvasya prayojika. So this particular fundamental principle called nistatva rupata is the guiding principle with which would be making sense of mithya or maya, prayojika. And therefore, this nistatva rupata is common to vyakta vyaktatva bhedinaha. So you have vyakta and avyakta. There are certain differences. Snake's head and snake's tail. Maya and its work, Akasha or Vayu, all this. Sakti karya, like you have, it's like electricity, and with that energy you are lighting up a lamp and all kinds of things. So you have Sakti and its work. Sakti karyor indriya agocharaya saktir tad gocharasya karyasya. What is Maya Sakti? Indriya gochara, indriya agocharava, indriya agocharaiva. Maya is not accessible to any of these sense organs. Not accessible. And all the Panchabhutas, which are products of this Maya, are Indriya Gochara, accessible to the Gyanendriyas, different Gyanendriyas. One is visible to the eye, the other one is visible to the skin, the other one is visible to the tongue, but they are all visible, they are all accessible. Therefore, Tulyaiva, Nistatva Rupata is a common quality to all of them. That is agreed by the wise men. Right? So Maya is Indriya Agochara. Vayu is Indriya Gochara. Right? Similarly, Jala, Agni, all these are Indriya Gochara. Akasa is not Indriya Gochara, but Anumana Siddha. Sabda Gunakam Akasham, that you infer. Okay? That is how he's trying to explaining it. Okay? So, given the fact that Nistatva Rupata is the filter which distinguishes both Maya and Vayu or Maya Karya, Maya and Maya Karya are different from Brahman by a common filter principle called Nistatva Rupata. Therefore, that's common to all of them. So, therefore, even though the Maya Karya is different from Maya, Maya is the mother cause. Its children are these Panchabhutas. They all are fundamentally unreal. And just because one is Indriya Agochara, the other one is Indriya Gochara, one is accessible to your sense organs, the other one is inaccessible to your sense organs, it's Avyakta Maya, doesn't mean one will be just by being Vyakta, just by being accessible to the Jnana Indriyas, it will become real. The snake is also accessible to your Jnana Indriyas. Brahmatvena, by mistake you are seeing it. That doesn't, just because you see something, that doesn't make it real. Bhagavan Shankaracharya, in fact, argues Jagana Mithya. Why? Drishyatvad, because it's visible. This whole world is a lie. How? Because it's visible. Really? Have you seen an example? He says, yes. Where? Swapnavas, like the dreams. You see dreams. Do they become real? Whatever you see don't become real. Like dreams do not become real. That is his most important argument. Therefore, Vyakta Vyakta Bheda, the distinguishing factor being that one is visible or accessible, the other one is not visible, doesn't make one unreal, the other one real. Why you will become real? No. Therefore, Maya Indriya Titatva, these are same. Maya is always Indriya Tita. That is fine. That doesn't make it false, and because it's Indriya Gochara, Vayu, doesn't make it real. That is the simple point he's trying to make it. Then we'll go to the next verse. Maya karyoyor avantara, this word is cha, but it is bha, it's a printing error. Maya karyoyor avantara bheda prasango atra aprastuta ityaha. He's trying to look here, my boy. You are unnecessarily wasting your time trying to draw lines of distinction between Maya and Ichkarya. Both are false. Both are unreal. Maya is invisible, this secret power of God, and its consequences is the sansara that you see. That doesn't make this one is false, this sansara that you see become real. No, that's not. What is the context? Maya karyoyor avandara bheda prasango atra aprastuta. The purpose of this discussion here is to, in fact, have real bheda between Sat and Asat. Sat and Asat. That is Tattva Bodha. What is real, what is unreal. Brahman is real, rest of it is unreal. That is the philosophical discussion. That is the context of our conversation today. You are unnecessarily trying to divert your attention to Maya and its work. It's like you get into a classroom and you have a new professor, say a young lady professor, and she is wearing some fancy dresses and she is a little short and she is wearing some dress and she looks like a student who is actually junior to you. You know, junior to you in age, in batch. And you think, where is the schoolgirl coming from to teach us? We have PG students. She's a professor. She's a PhD student and she's brilliant. She submitted a PhD and managed to get a job, and now she's doing a teaching assistantship. And when she enters your class and she starts delivering her lecture, you are distracted by her appearance. And you try to say, is it good? Why should she be dressing up like a student? I mean, it's okay that she's a little short, looks a little younger, but then she should make sure that she is properly dressed and with suit and tie, and she looks elegant and dignified, and we are able to easily distinguish her as a professor, not as a classmate or as a junior. Stupid, unnecessary distraction. The Vedanti here is trying to tell us that the context of the distinction, the context of our discussion today is to have a clear distinction made between what is fundamentally real, fundamentally unreal. The context of our discussion today is not about Maya and its karya, Maya and its products. They're both illusory. They're not fundamentally real. There are finer distinctions, and I'm not denying it. But that's not the point of our focus today. We're not supposed to discuss that. What is the context? Why are we here wasting our precious time? That is what he's trying to say. And look at the verse 85. Sadasat Sadasatva Vivekasya Prastuttatva Sachintyatam Asoto Bantara Veda Astam Tachintayatra Kim Asataha Tat Avantara Veda. I don't have any problem if you say Asat, which is Maya, and there are certain Avantara Veda, intermediate differences. Quite possible. In a dream, there is a hero, he has an enemy. There's a football field, there's a cricket field. You are all seeing that in the Avantara Veda. What are you seeing? Anything real? It's a dream. On a particular piece of cloth, somebody has done a painting. So there is a lady, she's carrying a baby and she's wearing a blue sari. And in the sari, there are women carrying babies. You can go further and further like that. Right? These are visual illusions that are being created. And somebody says, what is the color of the sari? Do you mention the color of the picture lady or the sari that is there in front of you? There is a sari in which there are pictures of women wearing saris, loving or taking care of their kids, and each woman taking care of kid that's painting within that sari. That painting also has the same thing there. Are you discussing that? You're discussing, is it a silk sari or it's a polycotton or it's a cotton and how much I'm going to pay? You have to pay the bill if you want to buy that sari and gift it to your daughter or niece or sister or anyone. You have to pay for it. That's your concern. It's not about which color of the lady which is in there in a small picture in the sari. That's not your purpose. That is what he's trying to say. Sad asad vivekasya prastutatvad, because this is what is the context of our discussion. We are discussing what is sat and what is asat. We are doing vivechana. Viveka means thoughtful reflection on it. Sachintyatam, that's what we should be meditating on. Asataha avantara vedaha. And there are certain intermediate distinctions between what is unreal and certain associated entities of that asat or unreality. Astam, it's maybe it's there. So what? Let it be there. Tat chintaya atrakim. What do you get by thinking about it? You have to pay for the sari. It's a 12-feet sari or it's a 14-feet sari, depending on the length and the weight and stuff like that. You pay for the sari. Because the three saris, one is maybe 8 feet long, the other one is maybe 12 feet long, the other one is 14 feet long. Accordingly, you pay for it, depending on the quality. Printing is more or less the same in all that, and you don't waste your time on that. Avantara Veda. Let's look at the commentary part of it. Sad asatva vivekasya. Sad and asatva. What is real and what is unreal. Sataha asatasya vivechanasya. Sataha is Brahman. Asataha means of this whole sansara. And you are doing discussion. Prastutatvad. What does it mean? Samprati vichara vishayatvat sachintyatam. That is the subject matter of our discussion today. Why don't you reflect on that? Asataha sadabhinnasya. What is asat? Which is different from sad. That means not Brahman, means sansara. Maya tatakarya rupasya avantara vedo. Maya and its product, this whole sansara, vayu, akasa, etc. Andar veda astam nama, it may be there, so what? There may be certain intermediate distinctions between. It's like there are some people who did not clear the entrance examination or the qualifying examination, and there is a lot of distinction between them. Somebody says is more intelligent, the other one is maybe not so intelligent, but none of them qualified, and you're not going to give a job to any of them. There may be avantara veda, maya and its karya. There may be some distinction. So what? Let it be. Atra sadasad vivechana prakarane, but the context of our discussion is true analysis of what is fundamentally real and what is not fundamentally real. Bheda vivechanasya aprastutataya, but avantara bheda vivechana, the internal differences, we're not discussing that. Tat chintaya avantara bhedasya chintaya kim prayojanam. Why are you distracting yourself to discuss what is not real? What is the point of discussion about this avantara bheda? Na kimapi ityarthaha. Absolutely, there is no reason, and you should not waste your attention and time trying to make sense of it. The summary of this whole argument is like this. There are different Vedas, Abandara Vedas. What is Maya Karya Veda, Maya Tatkarya, Maya and its product or consequence. Sakti Karya Veda. So Sakti is Maya Sakti and its Karya Veda. And what is the other thing? Vyakta Vyakta Veda. One is invisible, unmanifest. Maya manifests the work of Maya. Right? All these are, let them be there. How are you bothered? Tesam chintanam asmina sadasad viveka prakarane na prayojanavat. But there is no fundamental reason as to why we should be wasting time trying to discuss, understand, make sense of these finer distinctions between what is not fundamentally real. They are not fundamentally real. Why to discuss them? Yatohi, what is the mukhya siddhanta? What is the point of discussion? Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma. Sadeva Brahma. Somya Idamagra Asit. Brahman is only one. And then what is Asat? All that is Nama Rupatmaka. That is all mithya, names and forms. Vacha Vikara Namadhyam Mritika Ityevam Satyam. The clay is real. So many pots are made out of it. Are they real? They are appearances. They are forms, names and forms. Nachatena vadhyate. Therefore, he's saying this is not the context, and therefore, let's not waste our time trying to make sense of it. Let's go to the next interesting verse. Evam rupa vivechana phalam aha. Now, if I do this kind of discussion, is there any benefit? I'm going to get a degree, or I'm going to benefit in terms of the wisdom level. What do you have in return? He says, yes, there is there. Explaining. Sadvastu brahmasishtangsho vayur mithya yatha vyate basa itva chiram vayor mithya tvam marutam tyajet. I will tell you what is the benefit. What is the benefit? Benefit is like this. Sadvastu Brahma. Only Brahman is fundamentally real. That is the avasishta. That is what remains. There's another interesting story about it. It's like they say, you go on peeling the onions. Go on peeling the onions, and after a while, what remains? There's actually nothing. There is no name and form that remains in the end. What remains is actually nothing. Similarly here, when you are doing this analysis, Brahma Sishto, that is what remains in the end, that Brahman without name and form. You have that Suddha Chaitanya. Vayuhu mithya yathavyat. And this whole atmosphere is as unreal as space. First comes space, then comes atmosphere. Space was also unreal. This one is also unreal. These are all appearances. Vasaitva chiram vayoho mithyatvam. What do you mean by vasaitva? Thinking once about it really doesn't change our consciousness. You have to repeat. You have to think about it again and again. All of us are living. We're going to die one day. Permanent here. And this satsang video will be there. Someone may watch. Long after this body is gone, this person is gone, this video will be there. That doesn't make it real just because it's captured and is stored in the internet. That doesn't make it real. It's just an appearance. Therefore, when just knowing this doesn't liberate us, we have to internalize that and make it a part of our everyday consciousness and how we apply it this whole experience of living our life. And we turn our consciousness attention away from this external reality and several internal realities which are hiding in us to the source of all this, which is that pure weakness consciousness. When we do that, then whether it is Vayu, whether it is Akasha, whether it is this whole physical reality, or the experience of different emotions that we have, they all become evident to us as non-real. Asudo ma sadgamaya, pure ma amritam gamaya. Lead us from tamaso ma jyotir gamaya. Lead us from darkness to light, from falsehood to truth. Vayor mithyatvam, once you are realized, marutam tyaje. Don't obsess with air. Is that the advice? No, no. Don't obsess with the idea that atmosphere is real, because it's a phenomenal reality, not per se real. Okay? Now it's just one sentence. San Vayuhu ityatra sadvastu brahma sistangsho Vayuhu mitya. San Vayu, Vayu San, Ghata San, Pata San. There is atmosphere, there is a space, there is water, there is fire, there is earth. What is real in all these sentences? There is. These names, they were not there before the earth was created. There is, yeah, that's it. That part of the sentence was there. There was, there is, there shall be. That isness is there all the time. Right? And therefore, the Brahman alone is real. All other things are appearing and then disappearing. Sishta Angsha is what? What remains in the end. That is the Upashanghara conclusion after discussing about Brahman. That Brahman is Sadavastu. And then that is Paramarthika Satya, Paramartha Sat. Compared to that, Tasmad Bhinnataya, from that, all that, Yah Vayu Pratyate Sahasishta Angshavat Avasishta Eva Bhasamana Api Akasavat Mithyayava. Even though it might appear that the atmosphere is real, like space we analyze and we realize that actually fundamentally is not real, is all a mental construction, we'll also realize that the atmosphere is not fundamentally real. So when you internalize this truth, how? Punaha punaha anivritti vavritti abhyasat. You'll do anivritti and vyavritti. Anivritti is what pervades. Vyavritti is what doesn't pervade all the time. Right? What Vyavicharati, as Sankaracharya says in the Sloka 16 commentary in the Bhagavad Gita. When you establish firmly this reality in you, this realization, then as a Dridha Vasana, as a Sanskara, right? You establish it. Then Marutam Tyajet, what do you mean by that? He's saying that Vayu Tattva is fundamentally real, don't accept it. That's it. Yathartha Satya Buddhim Sarvada Nirvartaye. Don't try to accept that this Vayu has any fundamental reality of its own. Next, graduate to the next verse. We have already done Akasha, refuted its fundamental reality. We have discussed the Vayu atmosphere and we have refuted its fundamental reality. Now we are going downwards. We are going to fire. Agner mithatva vicharaha. Then we'll analyze whether fire is real. No, it's also not real. Vayu vivechanantaram agni vivekana prakaram aho chintayaditi. How do you meditate on reality or unreality of fire? Like this. Chintayed banhimapyevam Maruto Nyunavartinam Brahmanda Avarane Shvesa Nyunadhika Vicharana Adhika Desa Vrittitvam Nyuna Desa Vrittitvam. Whatever is a karya or a product will have less space, less pervading quality compared to the cause. That's what we have already discussed. Okay. That's what he's trying to say. Chintayed banhim api evam marutaha nyunavartinam. Now, Bunny or fire is a product of atmosphere. Therefore, because it's a product and that is the mother, that is the causal element, so therefore it is spread. It's like you have a lot of gold out of which you make a golden necklace. Think about gold. That's all the gold all over the world. You take that, that's what is gold. Out of which you have a golden necklace. How much it is? 10 grams, 20 grams. So Nyuna Desavarti is the golden chain. Gold is Adhiga Desha Vrittimatva is there in that gold. So Chintayadvanim Apivam Maruto Nyunavartinam. So this Banni is also compared to Marut or atmosphere has less pervading, is less pervasive. Try to understand that much. And similarly, Brahmanda Avaranishu Esa Nyunadhika Vicharana. In this whole physical seas or this whole Bhutatmaka Vastavata, this rule always appears and applies that whatever is causal in nature is Adhika Deshavarti. Whatever is Karya Rupa is Nyuna Deshavarti. What is the benefit of it? Okay, you look at Akasha, then Vayu, then Vani, then Jala, then Prithvi. You go until the last point. Prithvi would be less Deshavarti compared to Jala, and Jala will be Nyuna Deshavarti compared to Vani, and Vani will be Nyuna Deshavarti compared to Vayu, and Vayu is Nyuna Deshavarti compared to Akasha. Akasha is false, all of them also false. Look at the commentary. Marutaha Nyunavartinam Ekadesavartinam. Nyunadesavartinam, what do you mean? Say less pervasive. It means Ekadesavartinam. It's made out of one part of air. Bannim api evam dharma rupataya chintaye. That is what you think about the dharma rupata. What is the dharma of the banni, which is the dravya vibhajaka, and then you say that it will carry the qualities of also air and space. What are these? Ability to carry sound and that touch, heat and cold touch. You have also fire. Esa Nyunadhika Vicharana, this particular meditation on what is more pervasive and what is less pervasive, Brahmanda Varaneshu, Brahmanaha Utpati Utpaditasya Andakarasya Bhuvanakostasya Va Avaraneshu, Bhumyadishu Evam Kartabhya Iti Sheshaha. So I have explained to you till the atmosphere level. You can stretch it over to everything you see on earth. Whether it is water, it's earth, you stretch it over. These are all Nyuna Desavarti. Whereas Akasa is Brihad Desavarti. Compared to that, this Brahman is Niritisayana Adhiga Desavarti. And in the next verse, he's trying to reiterate more or less the same thing. Have a look at it. Panchabhutanam Nyunadhika Ansatam Vibhrunati Vayuriti. Which is bigger than what? Akasa is most pervasive. Next comes Vayu or atmosphere. Next comes fire. Next comes water. But you say, no, that's not true. Why, sir? No, but how much of earth is burning today? It's not true. Three-fourths of it is water. So earth is Nyuna Desavarti. Yeah, that I agree. But fire is Adhika Desavarti than water. It doesn't appeal to my logic. But you think about it. If you look at evolution and all that we've studied in school, physics, it was a gaseous state out of which, it was behaving like a fireball. It was burning and it went on burning for millions of years. And then you had the ice age. Then you had this, they talk about what is the evolution of biological reality on Earth. No, you had the jellyfish and slowly other things emerged. That is what he's mentioning in this verse. Vayor dasang sato nyuno banhir vayo prakaravitaha puranoktam taratamyam dasang seir bhuta panchake. Every bhuta is 1/10 of his preceding bhuta. Maya is like one part of Brahman, it's one third of it. That's what they say. Whereas Akasha is like a tiny part of Maya. And out of Akasha is come Vayu, that is 1/10 of the reality called space. And 1/10 of the reality called atmosphere is fire. And 1/10 of the reality called fire is water. And 1/10 of the reality called water is earth. Where did you read it? That is the question. The author says this is what is written in the Puranas. Oh, really? Yes, yes. It's written in different Puranas. Go and search. Vayor dasansataha nyunam, it's less than 1/10 of it, that is fire. And Vayu prakalpitaha, and it's imagined in Vayu. Puranoktam taratamyam, this difference is, this proportionality is discussed in the Purana. Dasang Sehi Bhuta Panchake, Spasta Purvardaha. We'll have a couple of minutes, we'll finish it. Spasta Purvardaha, Evam Bhuta Panchake, in the five Bhutas. Vyada Pavana Tejo Ambu Bhusu. So if you start with Akasha, Vyad, then Pavana air, then Tejo is fire, okay? Ambu is water, and Bhu is Bhumi or Prithvi. Purva Pekshaya Parasya Dasang Sehi. The preceding one will be 10 times more pervasive than the next one. Nyunatva Rupam Taratamyam Puranoktam. It's mentioned in the Purana. भूतोत्पत्तावकाशादिभ्यो वायव्यादिभ्यो वायवादयोः यथाक्रमं दशांशतः न्यून परिमाणः. So air is 1/10 of akasha and so and so. Panchikarane यथा परिमाणं सामी विभज्य तद एकैकं भूतभूतान्तराणाम् अष्टमांश Sayojanam iti sangachate. In Panchikarana, I have discussed that earlier, that you split it into 50%, Akasa will 50%, other four Bhutas is 1/8 of it, and together they become 50%. We'll discuss a little more tomorrow. Today we have hit the timeline and we'll reassemble tomorrow to take it forward. Until then, have a good time, and I'll do the Shanti mantras. Om Punnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat. So see you tomorrow again. Until then, goodbye.
Pranam.